Welcome to the Vault Studios NFL podcast, an Australian twist on all things NFL. The boys are cracking into a nice cold beer from Burnley Brewing. Let's join them.
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm your host, JA, and I am joined by the great man, Richard Garraway. How are you, buddy?
Excellent, mate. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Can't complain. Cowboys had a good win.
Both our teams won this week.
That's great.
Happens most weeks, actually, at the moment.
At the moment, it's nice. We're in this nice ripe patch of both our teams being successful, and I'm just waiting for the bubble to burst every week. But it's been fun. It's been fun, and had a great show last night. Great live show with Paige Cardona from NFL Australia. She's awesome. So that was good fun. Preview all the shows, and up early and watching games all day. Not as good a week this week for close games. There was some real disappointing results.
Yeah, the early window was pretty garbage this week, and there were a couple of games in there that I thought were going to be good. Yeah, I was really looking forward to that Chargers and Ravens game, and that was a real flop. It's the first time just about all year where that first window, that 1 p.m. window, was actually quite bad. To the point where I'm like, I did not need to get up to watch this. You know me, I normally only get up for the witching hour on Red Zone, that last half an hour to an hour of all the early window games as all the 4 p.m.s kick off. It was a real stinker. Obviously, we had one OT game, but it wasn't a great window. Those 4 p.m. games certainly been making up for it. And that 4 p.m. slate this year has been exceptional because the West teams are all really good. But yeah, unfortunately, a bit of a letdown this week. Another London game doesn't really help us. But hey, both our teams only lost one game, so
Football's football.
Driving on.
I'm all for it. Let's just start by thanking a couple of people or a couple of groups. Burnley Brewing. I'm on the draft again tonight. I can't get enough of the drafts at the moment. They're excellent.
Yeah, they're IPA.
The IPA, the Indian Pale Ale.
Correct.
Yes, there you go. I know my beer. Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you to Burnley Brewing. Lockdown is announced to end Thursday night in Melbourne. We are very excited. We will be able to hold each other one more time, Richard. One more time. Well, again, I shouldn't say one more time. I'm sure we're not going to hold each other then die. So I think we'll be fine. I don't think our love's that strong. But yeah, we'll be able to get back to our lives. That means Burnley Brewing will be able to open up. So it's great news for our friends at Burnley. And if you're in the area at 648 Bridge Road, Richmond, look after them. Also, our friends at Dark Horse Electrics. Caught up with Dylan on site last week. No, Monday, actually. No, it's Monday today. Friday. God, the days are all blurred into one at the moment. Caught up with him. He looked great. He's doing a great job. So if you need electrical work, get around Dark Horse Electrics and make sure you give him a follow on all his social medias and Burnley Brewing as well. And also our good friends at US Sports Gear. Gridiron season in Victoria's been announced. It's kicked off in other states. Make sure you get your gear from ussportsgear.com.au. I think I nailed it all, Richie.
Onwards with the show.
Over to you, buddy.
We'll start in the newsroom, and unfortunately, we just start with a bit of ugly news with the John Gruden incident. We did touch on it last week, but we were only privy to, I would say, a small amount of the information. I don't think we defended his actions, JA, but we certainly were saying it was a long time ago. It was 10 years, maybe cutting a bit of slack, blah, blah, blah. Since we did that podcast, of course, tons more information did come out. I'm almost sure I said in the show last week, unless more comes out, I think he'll be okay. More came out, and he was not okay.
No, he was not, and rightfully. And I'm not sure if I think some people probably listened to me last night with Paige. We had a good chat about this with Gruden, and my thing around the whole situation was, agree, Gruden had to go. The Ring of Honor stuff out of the Buccaneers, it's all fair. No, his personal opinion doesn't take away what he did on the field, but you lose certain rights when you behave that way and you say those things, in my opinion, and that's the rights to be celebrated. Now, people can still remember that you won Super Bowls and that team won Super Bowls and you were the coach, but they shouldn't remember you for anything else other than what you did, in my opinion, and that's the ramifications of making really horrible statements like that. But my point I made last night, Rich, and I know you're going to agree with me here, the hypocrisy of the NFL is where I have a bit of an issue, right? You've got Zeke Elliott, who is a great player, he pulled down a female's top at a party, at a parade in front of thousands and thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
Is that any worse than sending topless pictures of cheerleaders? I would say that's worse, if not just as bad. Tyreek Hill punches the shit out of his wife, breaks his kid's arm. Greg Hardy, Joe Mixon, Reuben Foster. The list goes on. Ben Roethlisberger.
Greg Hardy.
There's so many of them. There's so many of them. So why? And Gruden, I know he resigned and all that, but why do we allow players? It's like if you're really good, like if they just come off winning a Super Bowl and were 5-0 this year, would Gruden be resigning? That's my argument.
He actually would be. And here's the difference, I think, where a lot of people might be missing. And you give really good examples, and there is no morality line. It's impossible because you say, okay, well, domestic violence against a spouse is this much, but the spouse is pregnant. Okay, we need to move the line to here. But then this happens, so that's there, but this one falls in the middle. You just can't do it. There is no scale for those sorts of things. And people said, Warren Sapp's still in the Ring of Honor, and go look into what he's done. Here's the difference. John Gruden is the leader. He's the general. He's at the top. I think we're allowed to hold him to a higher standard than we hold, for all practical purposes, the foot soldiers. And that's the difference. This is a 4-star general versus a private. And you and I do like to bash Tyreek Hill because that video is horrendous. It also happened in college.
Yep. And
nothing has happened since. People deserve second chances, all those sorts of things. And another thing with Gruden is, at first we were like, it was 10 years ago. But all this other stuff was up until the point where he was an employee with the Raiders.
Yeah, exactly.
This wasn't a random email where he was a bit hot under the collar. This is who he is. This is who this guy is, which is disappointing for everybody, including myself as Buck fans, that I really like John Gruden. I like what he stood for. He was football through and through. I've got his book. You know, I read it after Super Bowl, all those sorts of things. I really like the stuff in here. And you just kind of feel grossly betrayed by somebody who is a 4-star general versus a private who's just come in. So I think that's where there can be some difference. Now, you're never going to get me defending the NFL on how they dish out punishment, because I wouldn't want that job.
A guy smokes weed and can't play again, yet you can bash the crap out of a girl and you're all good, mate, as long as you're good still.
Yeah, a few more weeks and you'll get a second chance. Yeah. I actually like the fact that Josh Gordon is on a roster right now and is getting a second chance, because everything he did it to himself.
Randy Gregory, he's playing really well this year. He's another guy that got basically lost his draft prospects because of weed.
Yeah, there are a ton of examples, but I think this one with John Gruden was just so egregious and just downright. It's the downright nasty to sexist, racist, homophobic. Like he went after everybody. Practically the only people he left alone were the Jewish community, and like he went after everybody in those things, even Native Americans, for God's sake. He went after everybody. So this is who he is, and you got to go. Like, I nearly said sorry, you got to go, but I'm not sorry. You just got to go. Like, that's
you got to be better. Got to be better these days. Well, 100%. It should have been like this ages ago. It's a as I said, and Richie, you're the same as me as a father of daughters. Like, we got to be better when it comes to, especially the way that females are treated as a whole. It's got to improve, and it is. I think it's going in the right direction. The fact that probably years ago this would have been just swept under a rug. The fact that people are now, I don't know how it got out, because I can tell you the NFL didn't release it. I can promise you the NFL didn't be like, here at all. No. It's to the public anyway.
Yeah. The NFL certainly didn't leak. Well, it certainly didn't. Yeah, the NFL certainly didn't leak it, but the leak came from the NFL.
Yes.
They've got all those emails. From personally, if I had to guess what happened, I would say somebody involved in the investigation did not like the way it was being handled, because he or she felt it was in the process of being put under the rug, because the toxic work environment that is the Washington football team and then the Washington Redskins is downright awful, to the point where at that cheerleader photo shoot, they instructed photographers to take behind the scenes stuff for people. Like, that's just so many levels of wrong. I don't even know where to start. But ignoring that, I do believe somebody within the NFL, within the investigation, did not like where it was headed, genuinely thought this is going to get swept under the rug, I'm leaking it. I
Yeah.
really do think that's where it came from, because you've got to look at who benefits from a leak like that. Nobody
No one.
does. No one benefited from
unless
that
the
leak.
Raiders wanted out of the contract and they leaked it to force a resign.
Well,
Resignation.
and it would be hard for them to have that because they weren't the body of the investigation.
Yeah, they
So
wouldn't know until someone told them.
100%. And if this is here from one person who was never actually in that organization, like God knows what else is in this. And the NFL, I truly believe now, are at no point to sweep this under the carpet. And there's people quietly resigning all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole thing, there is way, way more to come out of this. And lots of people are going to lose their jobs. And it wouldn't surprise me if some start going before they're pushed.
Yeah. And last thing to finish up on this, Rich, we talked about just before we recorded, everyone coming out now, and there's been plenty of high-profile people. Bill Simmons, Lombardi came out and said, Gruden was always a bit like this. Have a look at yourself, and it's not as bad. That's extravagant, but it's, if you know someone's doing this stuff and you're around this sort of thing, stop it. Say something. Don't be that gutless person that lets this go on for 10 years when you knew. And, Antonio Brown probably wasn't that wrong. We all laughed at Antonio Brown when he said Gruden's a racist. Maybe he was right. Maybe he knew that something we didn't know. He's been nothing but squeaky clean since leaving the Raiders. No issues. Now, he's done some crappy stuff too. Don't get me wrong. But, yeah, my last point is if someone at your workplace, your sporting club, your friendship group, if that's the sort of stuff they're doing, it's just not on anymore. You just can't do it. It's not 1980 where that's cool. It's just not on. So just stop it.
Big thing is call it out.
Yeah, call it out. 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
really is that easy. Moving on from that, hopefully, I think it'll be the last time we're talking about it this year, but at some point that investigation is coming out. There'll be a show dedicated to it. I reckon there'll be that much in it. There'll be that much in it. It'll be like just trudging through the sludge.
It'll be called the Gruden Gate, the Gruden Files, something like that.
I think it'll have a lot more to do with Schneider than anything else. God,
we can only hope. We can only hope that Schneider gets what he deserves. Yeah.
And whoever takes over that, when they work out how to railroad him out of there, please hit the reset button on it. Lose the colors, lose the name. Don't be the Warhawks or the Red Hawk. Just drop it all. Drop it all and start again.
Press start. Moving
on, games of the week. Let's actually turn ourselves to some football in the most awkward transition I can do. JA, we normally yell at each other when we do this. You've taken the Cowboys and the Patriots.
This is the game of the week.
It was the game of the week. So I'm going to forgive you. Go.
Well, once I said, guys, I'm taking the Cowboys and you're not stopping me. And you're both like, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It's a good game. This was if anyone who I was talking to on Messenger during this game today, I'm sorry. It was a real roller coaster for me. I struggled with some things along the way. What a game, though. I thought up and down roller coaster. In saying that, I think the Cowboys should have won this by 3 touchdowns. But, we've always said, Richie, that the sign of a good team is that teams, when things go against them and they have close games, they find a way to win. And that's something the Cowboys have really struggled with in the past, really struggled with it. And I'm going to start by going straight at my boy, Mike McCarthy. The analytics stuff for me, right? Everyone knows how much I hate this analytics world we're living in, right? So on the first drive, they get a 4th and 1 from inside their own 40. Go for it, don't get it. And I'm like, wouldn't have done that on the first drive. They literally score a touchdown straight away. I'm like, you're better than these guys. They're not that good. Punt it and make them go the full field. But anyway, fine. Trust your analytics. Go for that. Then just before halftime, or just before the end of the game, they have the same situation where he can go for it on 4th and 1 on the other side of the field and basically, or try and kick a field goal to take a 1-point lead, and he kicks a field goal and misses it. Now, Trayvon Digg bails him out. But you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to be an analytics guy, be an analytics guy. If you're going to be a feel-the-moment guy and a momentum, be that guy. You can't just pick and choose, because that's the whole idea of analytics. You have to do it all the time or it's not effective.
Yeah. And I'm all for going on it more on 4th down. We've complained for years that NFL coaches are far too conservative because all they're worried about is getting fired. They're like, well, I did the thing that every other coach in the NFL would do. Great. You still lost. So I'm all like, I think they should be going for more fourth downs. The problem is, it's when they do it, and then they don't do it a little bit later on, and you're like, hang on a minute, you went for it a second ago in a bad situation. This is actually a half decent situation, and you choose not to go for it.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand it. I could really rally against it all day. And look, I've coached, you've coached. You know when your team's up. You know when they're feeling it. You know when they come to the sideline and they're just in your face. Go, let's go for it. Let's go for it. We're going to get it. We're all up. Yep. Or they come over and they're all puffed and they're gassed. And you're like, fuck me, I don't think they're going to get this. And the defense, they're looking hyped. So you got to know your team. As a general rule, they should just be going for it more. But the overcorrection this year is insane. When they're going for it, now that they're thinking, God, if I don't go for this, I'm going to get fired. It's like the complete reverse. Like, know your football team. Going for it in your own half on the opening drive of the game is fucking stupid because you know what happens? Yeah. Exactly what happened today. They just run down the other way and punch it in because you gave them a short field.
And all the momentum's gone. You've lost everything. You've lost all your we're a better team momentum.
Yep. And all those plays that they ran on that opening drive on their short field were all scripted. They were practiced 50 times during the week. They're their best 10 plays.
Yep. And you give them a short field and the momentum to run them.
So
piss your defense off. Because we all know when that happens as a defensive guy, you're like, are you fucking serious, man? Like, come on, it's the first drive. Like, what a dumb move. You know, I know if he gets it, they're probably like, oh, yeah, good work. Steal the momentum. The other one was that I had a real issue with the goal line series. So give it to Zeke twice, don't get it.
And then the sneak.
But this is a ref issue as well. You're under 2 minutes, you can't challenge, right? Prescott clearly scored on the third down. Everyone in the world is sitting there going, oh, he easily scored. His whole body was across the line. Now, and the refs are saying we couldn't see the ball. They showed the bird's eye camera that the refs get if they review it. So McCarthy's on the sideline going, review it, check it. He scored, check it. Why aren't you checking it? Why aren't you checking it? Why aren't you checking it? And then before he knows it, they're like, you got to run a play. And so they run the sneak. Dak shouldn't have fumbled. It was actually a really good play with a linebacker just to stick that arm out and make a little punch on it. It was a good play by him, but it should never happen. Definitely out. And the refs, the fourth down was definitely out. And the refs should have called a touchdown on the third down and then reviewed it because it was that obvious that he was over. I had a bit of an issue with that. The refs all day gave me the shits. I think they called Tiggy touch stupid stuff, which always annoys me because someone's always getting ripped off from it. But there were some bad calls. And I want to talk Trayvon Diggs. First of all, his season's outstanding, but the highs and lows of being an NFL cornerback. So he gets a pick six off a dropped. He played it smart. He played the downs. He did his job. The receiver, it was a wide throw. The receiver tipped it straight to him. Sometimes when you're hot, you're hot. You know, when you get 7 picks in 6 games, you're hot. You're running about as hot as any corner in the league has ever run. Well, literally you are. It's a record in the first 6 games. So he scores a touchdown. Very next play, he's probably feeling pretty good about himself. Well, you know what? I'm gonna undercut this. He's gonna throw me. I'm gonna get 2 in a row, and bang! McCorkle just uncorks it and throws a really nice ball. Everyone's saying, "Oh, Diggs got beat." Right? Diggs played it poorly. He undercut, but he also had safety help. That safety, if he reads it correctly, is running the other direction with the ball in his hands, or at worst, he drills that receiver as he goes to catch it. At worst,
it was amazingly. Sorry, it was amazing how the moons aligned on that for both those defensive players to screw it up. Because, yes, it was a good pass, and it was a good catch. But if either one of those defenders played it correctly, it would have been a tackle the second he caught it. But they both just colossally screwed it up. Diggs was far too confident after the play before it.
Feeling so good about himself, wasn't he?
He's like, I'm going to bait him, and then McCorkle threw a bloody good pass. Yeah. And also, I think that's his longest play of his career, and it's the Patriots' longest play all year. Yeah. It's like their first explosive play.
They're so boring to watch, though, honestly.
They're awful. I can't watch them. But then the safety, he played that so poorly. He could have made 10 other decisions that would not have resulted in that touchdown. You could have literally stopped, let him catch it, and cuddled him, and he would have made the tackle. That's the position he was in. He just runs past it. I couldn't. It made no sense to me.
And he's had a good year, that safety. That's Kazee. He's been playing pretty well, and he's a real ball hawk. He has a ton of picks over his career. I think he just misplayed. I think what he did, because he was in that deep zone, is he's watching the receivers, sees him release outside and thinks, all right, he's running a streak along the outside. Then looks back at the quarterback, sees the quarterback wind up and thinks, oh, crap, he's thrown that to the sideline. And then as he breaks it and accelerates, he looks at the receiver and goes, oh, he's not. He's just come inside of me. And
I actually think both read it
Fun.
poorly in the air.
Yeah.
And that's what resulted, because it was a good pass and a good catch. So I'm trying to give credit both ways. But
it was a good throw by Mac. This game changed my opinion on him a little bit. I'm still not going to overhype the guy, but he's played the best out of all the rookie quarterbacks this year, and that's just because Lawrence and Wilson haven't been great, and Lance has been terrible.
But also, they're not asking him to do anything.
No,
like that.
nowhere
Is the
near
first
as much
time
as
they've asked him to push it down the field, and he actually pushed it down a couple of times.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll trust him now, and they might do it more.
Before we move on to your game of the week, can we talk Dak? Like, honestly, he is unbelievable. 440 yards. He's thrown the most touchdowns in the first 6 games ever in Cowboys history. He's just the throw he made in to get that field goal right. So just before the field goal, they were driving down to tie the game, to tie it for overtime. The idiot left guard Connor Williams, he had an awful day. He just had a shocking day. Held like 4 times. Gets holds on the play and a personal foul. So it's 15 yards and you lose the down because it's a dead ball foul. Dak Prescott on a 3rd and 25 hits a 23-yard pass to CeeDee Lamb over the middle, up high, like perfect for him to set up a field goal. Then in overtime, like as soon as the Cowboys got the ball back, I knew it was game. There was no way Prescott was not getting at least a field goal or a field goal attempt. He's just too good at the moment.
Yeah, I'd love to know who in the organization at the Cowboys now runs the player scouting division, because you guys have barely missed in what feels like 5 years. And I feel like I've been saying it for a while, that the talent in that place is crazy. They're such good drafters. And it's not like, I actually think it's harder to be bad in the first round than it is to be good. There's so much information now.
Especially when you're inside the top 10. Like, keep in mind that the Cowboys don't draft in the top 10 very often.
No, and that's the whole thing. And they just find starters top to bottom all over the place. And as I said, it's a credit to the organization, since they let, Jerry used to just trade them all away for guys who are to the middle end of their careers. And they just don't do it anymore. They just don't do it anymore. And as I said, that whoever runs those rooms now is exceptional at it. Like, they're really good.
Absolutely. And I'll just a quick shout out to Randy Gregory, the hit he put on Mac Jones. I don't think I've ever seen a defensive end beat a tackle so quickly in my entire life.
Yeah.
After he hit Mac Jones, did you see him like get up and be like, "Dude, are you all right? Like, are you genuinely okay?" It wasn't even shit talking. He's like, "Man, I just killed you." Like, I didn't think Mac was getting up. Credit to him, man. That was he's a tough kid. He can take a hit.
That was one of those ones where like you feel it when you're watching. You're like, oh god.
You saw the right tackle. He got beat so quickly that as they showed like the close-up camera, and as Gregory whips around him, he puts the hands on the head, being like, "Oh no, this is going to be," before he's even made contact with him. Poor Mac, he's not even into his 3rd step yet. He's got the ball in his waist, and he looks, and he's like, "Oh my god, I'm dead. I'm going to die." It was a great
happened
game.
so quick that the O-lineman couldn't even hold him. Like,
that's what I mean. Yeah. Trust me, as an O-lineman, when a guy beats you like that, you just grab his fucking arm and you pull him to the ground. And you're like, if it's a penalty, it's a penalty, because this kid's going to die if I let him through. But he's playing really well. Trayvon Diggs is good. I'm enjoying you know what the best part is? I'm just enjoying watching the Cowboys at the moment. And, I enjoyed watching them when they lost week 1. I would have been shattered if they'd lost today, because they really deserve to win the game. But it's the Patriots. The Patriots are very good at home. They're very good against big opposition. They did it to your Bucks a couple of weeks ago. Did to the Cowboys today. They find a way to keep in games. And I said, I don't think they're a playoff team, but if they were, I wouldn't want to face them in the playoffs. I wouldn't want to have an elimination game against the Patriots.
No, that's the last place you want to be, because one thing, they're going to be prepared.
Yeah,
and
you have to, and that was the Cowboys' problem. They had to beat themselves today and the Patriots, and it's really difficult to do that in the NFL. Let's get to your game, Rich.
I took the Vikings and the Panthers. I keep ending up with the Panthers all the time, and our darlings of the schedule, the Carolina Panthers. I am too, but I'll come to that. This was just a good fun game. They were pretty much going score for score. throughout most of the day, even in the second half, the Vikings looked like they might get away with it, but then Carolina had a good fourth quarter, put some points on the board. Obviously, finishing up in overtime. Again, Kirk Cousins, every time I start to think he's just a bit crap, he shows me that he's not. I don't think he's a world beater, but he's a really good NFL football player.
He's great, and he's got great talent around him. Cook is so good.
That's what I was going to come to too. Cook had
Thielen.
140 on the ground. Adam Thielen is such a good player. If there is such a thing as, I want a new stat. I want, receptions and targets, and then I want big catches. And they're fourth downs, important ones, third down, big moments, sort of thing. Adam Thielen would lead the league in important catches, right?
Surely there should be clutch catches. They record it with quarterbacks if they get clutch when they get out of bed in the morning. Like, surely they can record it for receivers when they really are clutch.
You'd certainly hope so. Now the Vikings have struggled in second halves all year. Up until now, they had not scored a second half touchdown, like in their previous 4 games or something ridiculous like that. Thank God Cook broke that streak. But these are the sorts of things that they're not good. Like you don't want those sorts of stats. It just shows you're not coming out at second half, or once your opposition adjusts to you, you can't keep up.
It shows that you're a feature of an offense, not a leader of an offense. We'll have a conversation later about Baker as well. Like when everything goes well for an offense, quarterbacks look great. When you're running the ball and your play action's working and your tackles are blocking and your O-line's dominating and your receivers are beating their routes, quarterback's easy. It's easy to play. It's when things are tough and things are hard, and you've got to be that you got to be the trailer, not the you got to be the tractor, not the trailer. You got to grab your team and go, hey, because no other position can do it. I'm telling you, the fucking left guard can't. He can't grab the team and go, I'm going to carry you on my own. Only the quarterback and maybe receiver or running back can really take over a game. And that's when they do it. And that's what I don't think Kirk Cousins has. But he's very good most of the time.
Mm. Well, and you can flip that. Another perfect example of that guy is Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you go 17 of 41 for 207 yards and a touchdown?
Is Adam Gase there? Is Adam Gase sniffing around again? Is this the problem? Is Adam Gase in the building? If they've let Adam Gase in that building, I tell you, there's an easy answer to that, Rich. We know what the Panthers' offense is.
No
CMC.
No McCaffrey.
They've lost 65% of their offensive production. It's challenging. It changes everything you have to do, and Darnold's not up to it.
I will say one thing. I mean, they were trailing 28-20 with like it was right before the 2-minute warning. So it was like 2:06 or 2:10 or something like that left. And they had to go 98 yards to force overtime. And they did it. So credit there. But this Carolina team was, as we said, it's a product of the schedule.
Yeah.
And they should probably have another win or two, but it's still a product of the schedule. They were the number one run defense, until they ran into your Cowboys, Jay, and you ran all over them. They had one of the best secondaries, and Kirk Cousins lit them up today. It's quirks of the schedule. Look at who they've played, all these sorts of things. Now, that being said, forcing overtime, again, was actually an impressive feat. But this Carolina team is not... I never said they're not good. I'm taking that back. They are good.
I think they've got to get it right. They've got to work it out. And they've got to work out what they're doing on offense. Change it up. It's not working.
Their most important piece is not there, and they are nothing without him, and that's amazing.
And the fact is that he's a running back, and they're nothing without him. That's the most. The other problem is their offensive line's not very good. CMC completely makes up for a bad offensive line.
Yeah.
There are guys that, like, for example, I don't think Zeke runs well behind bad offensive lines. He's not designed for that. He's a one cut hit the hole. McCaffrey can make things happen. He can stop. He can accelerate. There are running backs that are, Kamara's one of them. Eckler is one of them. He can run behind a bad offensive line. Guys that can stop and start and make guys miss. Like Lamar Jackson's the prime guy. Like you watch him with offensive linemen around him, he just makes them look so good because he's like, oh yeah, I'll go this way. Oh, you're gonna go this way. Okay, I'll go this way. Here, seal it for me. He just makes it look great. So there are guys that can do that. McCaffrey is one of them. They're not great in pass protection. They're not giving Darnold much of a chance. There were plays today he was just getting drilled before he had a chance. And I can promise you the Vikings defensive line is not the best in the league. It's not up there.
Middle
So,
tier at best.
Exactly. There's some issues there. I'm not off Darnold. He said he had a 98-yard drive to get the game into overtime. He's not terrible when he can get it going. I think he struggles with lack of momentum. They need to go into more of a fast-paced offense. But again, that puts pressure on your defense. If you're struggling, and you know, Richie, we've done a no huddle offense before. When it's not good, it's not good. It's bad, and your defense pays for it. So maybe that momentum's got to come from somewhere, but they've got to do something because he's on injured reserve now. He's 3 weeks minimum still, or 4 weeks minimum still. They cannot lose the next 4 games. You just cannot do it because this is the easiest part of your schedule.
I was going to say they've now got the Giants and the Falcons in the next 2 weeks.
Got to win them both. Then you're fine. You're 5-3. You're back in the playoff race.
But then they've got the Patriots, the Panthers. So, sorry, they are the Panthers, the Cardinals.
So 1, 2, 3. The first 6 teams in the NFC: Arizona, Tampa, Green Bay, Cowboys, and the Rams. So the first 5 teams are 6-0 or 5-1. So keep that in mind. Like you are falling behind if you're at 3-3. There's only going to be one. I
can't remember if I said it last week, maybe even the week before. I've never seen a year that feels more like the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah, it's a real divide.
It feels like there's almost nothing in the middle. Now, these 2 teams are at 500, but that seems to be the exception rather than the rule. It really does feel, as I said,
there's going to be 2 spots.
Bottom heavy.
There's going to be 2 spots that a 10-win, 11-team win get in the 17-game schedule. There's going to be 2 spots here. So if you're the Panthers, you're 3-3. Same with the Vikings. You're 3. Richie, your Vikings, you just knocked out 2 weeks ago, in the playoffs right now. Say, the Saints are in there. None of us have the Saints. So this could change really quickly. I think San Fran will have something to say in this. I think Carolina will. Chicago, I'm not sold on. I think Minnesota, I think New Orleans. There's going to be probably 4 or 5 teams that are fighting for those last 2 spots. So if you're the Panthers, so I'm not off them yet, but the last 3 weeks, if they'd won 1 and they were, how much better does 4-2 look than 3-3? Big difference. So just get that right. But hey, a couple of good games, and there was some bad ones, but a couple of good games this week.
Absolutely. We'll move on now to this week's segment. What is the issue? We'll do it relatively rapid fire. So starting off with you, JA, the Chargers. What happens when the offense has a day off?
Yeah, that's the issue. What happens when they have a day off, which happened today? And the Ravens kicked the 7 shades of Sunday out of them. Like, it was unbelievable. And don't get me wrong, I think the Ravens are really good. I'm loving my pick for the NFC North for them right now. I think they're looking really, really good. But this is what happens today. You lose 37-6 when you have a bad day off. Herbert had a bad day. The offense had a bad day. Now, if you're a team that's got some guys on defense that can get some stops, maybe it's only 17-6 at 3/4 time or halftime, and you can go, all right, we're still in this, and you get a bit hot, and you can win those games. If your defense is this bad, it reminds me a lot of, some Cowboys games over the last Cowboys teams over the last few years. If you're a really good offense and your defense cannot ever get a stop, you have one bad quarter on offense, one bad half, and the game's over. You can't come back. And that's where the Chargers are right now. They're having shootouts every week. It's not sustainable.
Yeah, and obviously with the defensive head coach, I didn't expect the defense to be this bad, but they were terrible everywhere today. And as somebody who has too many Chargers on their fantasy team, I noticed it immediately. Since I looked up, I'm like, oh dear. And I agree that right now, unfortunately, what happens if their offense has a day off? Right now, they lose.
Badly.
Yeah.
Badly. Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys. What's the issue?
I'll be real quick on here. The head coach is a moron. And we've talked about their bad moves today real quickly. My biggest fear right now is that what Kellen Moore's doing is incredible. I'm loving watching what he's doing. He's going to be a head coach next year. Teams are going to come after him. What's going to happen is he's going to leave. Some of the talent's going to leave the building because what happens because you can't pay everyone. And then we're going to start Mike McCarthy with less talent. That's my worry. He's not a good head coach. He is being saved by talent and a really good OC. And you know what? Not as much, but Dan Quinn doing a good job, doing a really good job with the guys he's got, creating a simple defense that fits strengths. He is getting saved by his talent and his assistant coaches, and I'm terrified we're going to be stuck with them without those assistant coaches.
Quinn's a good defensive coordinator.
He won't get a head coach job again.
No, and he shouldn't. But I mean, I know when you hired him, I made fun because it was just another old guy. But Like, he is a good defensive coordinator, and
He
I
was
think he
great
can
at
put the
Seattle.
team.
He's been great everywhere except for Atlanta, where
Except when he was head coach.
Yeah, Shanahan was saved him from having bad defenses, but he's been bad everywhere defensively since. But he puts. I'm liking he's taking guys like Kearse, Kazee, Parsons, Van Der Esch, Diggs. He's putting them in positions to be successful. Gregory, he's like, hey, you're good at this. You're going to do. There's this the rookie third round pick Ogazui or whatever his name is, only uses him about 30% of the snaps. I could swear he's been one of the best defensive players this year, but he doesn't play much because he uses him in the right time. So that's the issue there, that he's going to get saved. He's getting saved by talent and coaches, and I'm worried about what's going to happen when they go, because teams will snap him up.
Fair enough. You going to throw the next one at me? Because I'm all over.
Yeah, I'll throw this one. This is you. The Browns, what's the issue? Baker, OBJ.
Nothing. It's injuries. Have a look how many starters they're missing at the moment, and they just lost more. So Chubb didn't play this week, just to add insult to injury. They're on their third left tackle, which, it's kind of important. And Baker got hurt today. And I think his exact quote where they said, how does the shoulder feel? He goes, it feels like shit.
Yeah, it was good. And they said, oh, are you going to play next week? And he was just like, that's the plan. He was so salty. It was great.
And he's the thing I love about Baker is he fucking wants to win. So he hates losing, hates it. And that's what you want from a guy. But the biggest problem for him is his ceiling is very good. So everything else has to be going on around him. And right now they have just so many injuries. And then guys like Njoku popping the ball up for a pick like it's a volleyball dig. Like, that was so bad. He had two hands on it, catch the damn thing.
What about OBJ?
So, I don't know. Look, he dropped a fourth down 2 weeks ago. He goes, that's the last time it'll ever happen. And it happened again today. I don't know what's going on there. I think he is feeling the pressure as well. Obviously, they don't have Landry, who's injured at the moment. Peoples-Jones is their best receiver by far at the moment. He's sneaky, such a good player. Most people would not even know who he is.
That is my note.
As well.
Peoples-Jones is more productive and explosive than OBJ. Right now,
100%.
he is. When is
no doubt.
When is the string going to run out with OBJ? We haven't seen him be good since he left the Giants, and he wasn't good his last 2 years at the Giants either. Oh, he was injured. Oh, he was that. The bottom line is he's a bit of a locker room cancer, and he's now not producing. So what is the point?
He's probably got to go. The biggest problem for the Browns right now is they're on another short week, so they've got to try and get these guys back on a short week against the Broncos. Brutal. A very, very winnable game, but you're not going to get these guys back. I'm hoping Chubb was a last-minute scratch because they need him, because Hunt got hurt today.
Was.
So, I think he warmed up. He couldn't get through it.
Yeah.
But Hunt
it
today.
was announced just like it wasn't announced when I went to bed, and then when I woke up, it was announced. So it happened sometime in the 6 hours I was asleep before the game, which you've got to understand is they're getting ready to go at 6 hours. When we go to bed, they're getting ready to go for those games in the morning.
Yeah, they're arriving at the stadium. So it really is injuries, and they're a relatively deep roster, but they went from being uber talented with just injured guys everywhere, and it's not helping because they don't have an Aaron Rodgers type of quarterback who can cover up for some of these things. Baker, while trying his best, he's not that guy, and too many injuries. Yeah, too many injuries. Moving on, JA, the Seahawks.
Wilson is a moron, and here is why. I'm going to run you through why.
You've called two people morons in the last 2 minutes.
Who else did I call a moron?
Your head coach.
He is a moron. He's a dickhead. But if everyone's come on the show, you're welcome, McCarthy. Same with you, Russell. No, honestly, though, Russell Wilson, right, before the game today, he's injured, he can't play, whatever. He's running through plays on his own, like no huddling, making calls, like get to the line. We're going to snap it. With a mic on, everyone's like, oh, look at him warming up. That's just a guy. I'm like, I'm sorry. You don't go, hey, ESPN, just so you might want to mic me up because I'm going to do something pretty cool like 4 hours before the game and have a full camera crew and the Zoom mic following me around. Like, fuck off. I like Russell Wilson. He's a good player, but this is why he's so unbearable. Like, we know what you're doing, man. I just thought it was very funny.
he's just a douche. I feel like I've been talking about this for years. I just don't believe him. Everything is
No.
so scripted. It's so
Set up,
organized.
phony.
Everything's set up. Every press
Sham.
conference is phony. Like, you could study him for 2 minutes, and I could give a press conference, and you would think I'm him. Like, it's all just so fake. It's all for show. Let's not forget, this is a guy who had his list of trade demand cities. It was this off season. This only just happened.
He's building a brand. I'm telling you, he's building. Paige last night said he doesn't play another game. This was a hot take, and I remember it. He never plays another game for Seattle. By the time his finger's healed up, they'll be out of the playoffs, and he'll be like, you know what? I'm not rushing back. And what I said last preseason, I want out, and they'll trade him. And they're going backwards, and Carroll's in real trouble too.
Big time.
Hot seat. He's old. He's had a great career, but he's old. He's oldest coach in the league. The players are going to stop buying in. You're already seeing a bit of it. He had to cut his starting corner this week, because the guy was starting to call out coaches and stuff. He wasn't starting the last few weeks because of his attitude, but he's been your starting corner for 3 years, and now he starts calling crap out. It's not good signs, and now you add losing on top of it. Plus, they've got no draft picks to rebuild because they keep trading them away for untalented guys, or low-end talented guys. Like, Terrell Adams isn't untalented, but he's not worth 2 first-round picks and then a massive contract where you're locked into him forever. So I think Carroll's in real trouble, and I think there could be a big, big reboot in Seattle. Huge reboot. New coach, new quarterback, start again.
It just about has to come. And you know what? You can probably trade Russell Wilson and get a lot of that capital back and start again.
You can get a couple of first-round picks. You can probably get 3 first-round picks for Russell Wilson.
No, you can't. You only get 2. Next one I'm throwing at you. The Giants. What's the issue?
Jones has lost the team. It was that clear today. 3 interceptions, two lost fumbles. It's the same old Daniel Jones. I don't think he should have played this week. I still cannot believe, after being literally a zombie on the field last week, to the point where a Cowboys player went and helped him. That's how bad he was shaking around. That Kearse went and grabbed him and held him up. That he plays a week later. I'm sorry. If you're not a quarterback, you're not playing that game. But anyway, he was dreadful today, and the team 100% quit. They bent over, they grabbed the ankles, and they let the Rams just destroy them. And it was embarrassing. Judge is in trouble, and I think Judge is a good coach. I really do like him, but this is the problem. We've talked about this so many times, Rich. If you're the asshole coach, you better fucking win. If you make dudes run laps, you better fucking win. Because I'm telling you, guys will not want to play for you. They will stop trying, and this is the results you get. And we're seeing it early, and I reckon, knowing what the Giants are like, he could be in real trouble come into this year.
Yeah, they need a clear house.
Yep.
Especially at the GM position.
Barkley too. Like I said, I like Barkley. I got a signed helmet of his. I think he's great, but he running backs, man, running backs.
I don't think he'll ever be the same.
Nope.
Not for a guy who was a home run hitter. He was not a rip him off in chunks guy. He is a 0-yard or a 20-plus yard kind of running back. Always has been. Go all the way back to Penn State. Check it out. And when you then got injuries, just can't be the same. Lucky last 2. The Bears, what's the issue?
Well, it's very clear. I can't believe this hasn't come up in the past, but their owner is a quarterback for another team, Aaron Rodgers. Didn't you hear him today? He told the lady in the crowd that he owned. Still does. Always will.
She did give him the double bird, which I thought was hilarious.
That is what I love about football. Guys like Aaron Rodgers, and we've had a bit of inside info about Aaron Rodgers because of our good mate Chris Bryan. Like about some stories about Aaron Rodgers that he's just a really good bloke and a good dude to be around. And that's just like, did you see Aaron Jones in the comments after? And they were like, "Did you hear what Aaron Rodgers said?" And he's like, "Yeah, how good was that?" Like,
yeah, he goes, how about Aaron being Aaron.
An entire stadium. And then David Baccarati, I saw him on Twitter. Someone a writer tweeted the quote saying, "I believe this is what's reported." Aaron Rodgers exactly said. And David Baccarati tweeted, "Can confirm exactly what he said." They're fun. That's fun. They should be enjoying it. They get to play football. It's awesome. And what are the Bears going to do? Just shut the fuck up. You just got your ass kicked by Rodgers. Just eat it.
Again.
And you know what? He does it to everyone, and he'll do it to you again. He owns you. And it was great. It was very fun.
100%. The last one on here, I'm sure was a joke, was the Arizona Cardinals. What's the issue? Absolutely nothing. They won without their entire coaching staff today, who all have COVID or were in COVID protocol or something, but none of them were there. They're all at Cliff Kingsbury's mansion having a pool party, and their team still went and won. So
they win. They kicked the shit out of a good Browns team at home. The Browns were dead in the water until Caldwell Pope was at it. Is it Caldwell Pope? Is that who it was? We just talked about him before. Peoples Jones. Sorry, one of those two namers. He looked until he saved them with a halftime Hail Mary. Like,
how good was it?
Arizona. I said last night with Paige, I'm still not sure. I'm sure they are very good, and that they will be around come playoffs. They're going to be very, very hard to beat.
A couple of things to finish off the show. It'll be rapid fire. Upset of the week, Miami 20. The Jags get their first win in a bloody long time. 23 in sunny old England.
So if you're on video, you can see my facial reaction. We literally couldn't think. There was no other real upset. I wanted to put the Baltimore Ravens as the upset just because they won by so much. But Richie reminded me they were a home favorite. You know what? Go Jags. You know, Urban Meyer came from behind twice this week. You know, he's been great. You know, he's been
hilarious. Very funny.
And he still hasn't won in the NFL in America. So well done. And he might not. But hey, you know, I felt good for Lawrence. That was nice. It's nice for a young quarterback to get a win. Dolphins, though, I think Flores is fine, but they got to reboot in the offseason and get some things right.
The big talk there was going to get Chase. No, not Chase. Who was the receiver they went and got?
Waddle. Played well. Played really well today.
They were expecting Tour and Waddle to be like, you know, the pair like Chase and Burrow are. I don't think they're going to be. I think Waddle's really good.
Do you think? Are you out on Tour?
Yeah, I am actually. I was kind of out on him last year. I don't think he's going to be what they hoped he would be, and he's always going to be compared to Herbert and to Burrow, and he's just so far behind those two that the ownership and fan base will not accept that they got it. Quite frankly, got it that wrong.
There's a lot of issues with this team, though, that just aren't him. The offensive line's deplorable. The running game's dreadful. Like, there's a lot of pressure on him. He's got some good receivers. I don't think his receivers are that bad.
But last year, if you looked at the Cincinnati Bengals, you would have said the same things. Yet you still looked at Burrow and you go,
even Wilson,
he's gonna be man.
The same. Lawrence, I'm not off on Wilson or Lawrence yet. When they throw the ball, like Lawrence in particular, I'm not off on him. He's got some special tendencies. But Wilson, like when he throws the ball, you're like, wow, like that. You know, with Tua, you're like, he really went over Herbert. Know what I mean?
Yeah, they're and that's the problem. Tua's always going to be tied to those guys, and I don't think he'll ever be as good as them. When it gets to the end of the second year, as I always say, people always want to hold up. They go, but look at Josh Allen. Once. It's happened once. Ever.
Biggest outlier in the history of the NFL.
It's ridiculous. Like, it's literally happened once. Everybody else shows you something beforehand. Even with Mahomes, he sits out an entire year. He plays one game when it didn't matter. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, who's this dude?
Everyone knew. When they tried Alex Smith, everyone was like, yeah, this is the right move.
Exactly. So we've seen it. And sorry, Dolphin fans. Like, you know, you got to rebuild your O-line, but you're going to have to draft a quarterback too. So life ain't great for you guys right now.
Richie, you know, there's 63 species of dolphin in the world. Do you know what it's called when 53 of them get together on a Sunday? Miserable.
Very good.
Happy
with that joke?
I like that one.
I was going to say just steal that.
I steal everything.
Nice. Last thing to finish off with, we are now what are we? So we're going into week 7, so we're going to start forking some teams. The early ones shouldn't be too difficult because there are a lot of very ordinary football teams. How we want to fork here out of the gate, Jay? We're thinking 2 each.
We can fork 2 each. Yeah, I think that's fair. Very fair. You go first.
All right. I'm going to try and take one from the AFC and one from the NFC. In the AFC, I'll fork the Texans. I think I'm pretty safe.
Going out on a limb there. Well, just to stick with common trends, I'll do the Detroit Lions because they're 0-6 and their coach almost cried again in the press conference today. And they get to play Matt Stafford next week in LA. What do you reckon he's going to do?
The revenge game.
What do you think he's going to do? All right, your next one.
So I've taken an AFC. I'm now going to take an NFC. Let me see. Who do I want to fork? I think it has to be the Giants. I think I have to fork the Giants.
Now, I'm going to go on a bit of a limb, Rich. I'm not going to do another NFC team. And this is one I could probably wait and do in 3 or 4 weeks, but because I hate them, I want to do it a bit early.
Ooh.
Washington football team. I'm done. You're 2-4.
Yes.
You are terrible. You shouldn't even be 2-4. You should be 0-6. You're as bad as the Detroit Lions. Your defense is the defense has been dreadful, and this is again why we have to remember, Richie. Do not put anything in defenses year to year. There's just no point. Like here's the point: Cowboys worst defense in the league, Washington best. Look at them now. Like Cowboys defense isn't the best in the league, but the jump, it fluctuates so dramatically. Defense. I'm never putting anything on it again. And I think they're dreadful. I think Tyler Heineke's pretty crap, and I think they'll be lucky to win 6 games this year. That's 4 more. 2-4.
Yeah, they're not winning that many. Not winning that many.
I'm forking them early. Come at me.
Very last thing is the Monday night preview. The Bills are headed to the Titans. JA, who've you got?
I don't know why. I said this last night as well. I've got the Titans at home. I just cannot explain. I just think the Bills are due for a loss. I think they're drinking their own bathwater a bit. Like their first game of the season, they came in, they lost, and then they've rebuilt. I think they're going to get a loss here. I think Titans at home. Derrick Henry's going to run all over them. They haven't, other than the Chiefs, haven't really played anyone that good. And so the Chiefs are not playing that well at the moment. I think Titans at home. I think it's time for a Bills loss. But in saying that, the Bills could win by 40. They're that good. The
Bills with a win here will go to the same record as the Ravens and absolutely cement their spot as the class of the AFC. They need this. I know it sounds stupid with a team that's 4-1.
Titans need it more, though.
They do, but they're not as good. And that's what I think it's going to come down to. So the Bills, this is a statement, that game for them. It's on Monday Night Football. Every football eyeball is on them. Yeah, they need a really good performance here on the road. Go in and smack them. And I actually think they will.
Yeah. That's a fair call. There's just something that's telling me the Titans are going to get up. Just at home.
It's one of those games.
Yeah, good value if you want to bet on it, but don't come at me when they lose. Titans at home, Derrick Henry, huge game, which is, I guess, like an understatement of the year.
It has to be if they're going to win.
It's just a huge game. Just say you want 200 yards, just watch Derrick Henry. He's just going to kill it every week. That's it, Rich. Not bad this week.
Not bad. Down to 52 minutes. Yeah.
Not bad. We're getting there. We're getting there. Our goal was to get under 50 minutes, guys. So we're trying. But Richie keeps talking too much crap about the Dallas Cowboys. Don't shut up about them, especially when I want to thank our friends at Burnley Brewing, our friends at Dark Horse Electrics, and our friends at US Sports Gear. Get around all 3 of them. Also, our patrons. Thank you. This month is a signed Colts mini helmet. If you want to get your hands on that, $10 a month gets you in running. We're two or three off going to 2 items a month. So we draw it every month. $10 a month, draw it every month. Top gets a choice of first choice, second choice. One choice is the signed helmet this month, and the other choice is a box of beer from Burnley Brewing and a stubby holder. So that's what you can get. I think it's great value to the guys that have won helmets and jerseys and stuff. They think it's great value too, and it goes a lot to support the studio. So thank you to all our current patrons. Thank you to our former ones in the future. Richie, thank you as always, mate, and I'll see you next week.